What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven here with your afternoon snap, and today we are already into the grand finals of this week's community gaming tournament. We are looking at Honifer, the number 3 ranked player on the post-infinite leaderboard, and they are playing Move Bounce up against Mezencio, who looks to be playing junk. We can see a Titania there in the clubhouse. Probably not a card that Honifer played themselves, I'm going to assume, and we'll look at the entire top 4 of this tournament after we get through this finals matchup here. But Honifer was nice enough to stream this to me so that I could provide some coverage here at the end of the event. And looks like they've got a Human Torch already up to 12 power, doubled up in the throne room. That's going to win the Iron Patriot battle, giving them a 1-cost Claw. And we can see with that Debrii from Mezencio, we are indeed looking at a Clog matchup up against Move Bounce, which I think is agreed upon by most players that I've talked to recently to be the best deck in the game right now. And with Honifer playing it, number 3 on the post-infinite leaderboard, I think it's pretty safe to say. I think a lot of the players at the top of the post-infinite leaderboard are playing this exact deck list, really, with not many changes. I think that this is a stock list, and I'll put all of the deck lists on the screen after this fight, of course. But let's finish off this match first. We can see a green Goblin coming into the clubhouse alongside this Titania. So yeah, definitely looking to Clog, and Bounce can be pretty good against a Clog strategy because it gives you some ways to unclog yourself. You can even pick up a green Goblin and replay it to send it over to your opponent's side of the field. So that can be a pretty nice tool for Honifer. It also means that something like Dagger could get a little bit more value, and Claw is not a bad Iron Patriot pickup here either, because that could be something that could surprise Mezencio with an additional 8 points that they're not expecting to see in an otherwise locked out location. We see the second Iron Patriot allow Honifer to pick up a Phoenix Force, and Mezencio is going to grab a Demon from the Hood, and then probably a Viper here, yeah, to send over both the Hood and the Titania to lock Honifer out of Clubhouse, which is going to trigger the Clubhouse, giving a few extra points of power to those other 2 locations. Final turn of the game, a little bit awkward because you kind of want to play that Human Torch into Throne Room. You don't want to like lose that location to, well, I guess like Cannonball or something. You'll still wind up losing that location. So Throne Room's a little bit awkward. You could just wind up playing like Claw in Throne Room and then Human Torch in Machine World. It almost feels like that's too many points over in Machine World. And being locked out of losing the clubhouse, you're going to have to win both of these other 2 locations. And I'm not sure if Honifer is going to want to spend all of their remaining cubes to do so. Looks like no, they are going to retreat here and walk away with 2 cubes still remaining going into round 4. We missed the first 2 rounds, unfortunately, but it does look like Junk is getting the better of Move, and while Bounce is good against Clog, I would say though that Clog is good against the move aspect of the deck, because if you can lock your opponent out of a location, moving cards into locations is how the move deck gets a lot of its power. So you can shut off that angle, but Madam Web is a way to get around that Clog. You can't clog a location with Madam Web, and also Doctor Strange or Ghost Spider could pull out your highest power or most recently played card from a clogged location. So there are definitely some ways to get around it. And then of course Toxin and Beast, like I already mentioned, can be nice. Interestingly, Mini Lab is already sort of a clogged location. Not being able to play there until the final, not being able to add cards there even until the final turn of the game. You can't Madam Web cards in there unless you are Madam Webbing in a Jeff or like a Thanos or something. But for the most part, you're not going to be able to get in that mini lab, which means Iron Fist is also a dead draw. Now, we don't have Iron Fist. We have Madam Web and Doctor Strange. Ghost Spider would also be, there it is, Ghost Spider would be a way to get around that because it can move from location 1 to location 3 and vice versa. So that is going to allow Honifer to, and we are going to see that here, we're going to see the Madam Web move Human Torch and then Ghost Spider bring her right back and just double that and double that again. Interestingly, not playing the Doctor Strange on the same turn into Wakanda. So definitely letting a little bit of their energy go, just spending 1 energy on turn 4. Limbo, making this a 7-turn game is going to be interesting. That's something that we see pretty commonly in Clog decks right now, just because you're hoping that on that 7th turn of the game, you're going to have clogged your opponent enough that they're not going to be able to play, and you will be able to play on that final turn of the game. Or if they can fill up all of the locations, then that makes Cannonball a really powerful draw. Cannonball is interesting because it actually gets around Wakanda. It doesn't destroy the cards, I don't believe. I believe Cannonball turns the cards into rocks. So it can get around the cards here, can't be destroyed text on Wakanda. And now we have a little bit more Clog in that location. It's a great location to clog it in as the Hood joins Honifer's Toxin. But a huge Human Torch, and it does look like they are thinking about Beast to pick up the Hood right now. We also see Mini Lab has opened up. This is turn 6, so Honifer is now going to get 2 turns where they have access to all 3 locations, or at least 1 turn here where they have access to all 3 locations before Mezencio has clogged them out, potentially, if they're looking to clog out Wakanda. But this is looking like a pretty good position for Honifer. And yeah, looks like they are planning on using Beast to return that Hood to the hand, and they do snap. This is kind of a boomer snap. It's on turn 6, pretty late in the game, but you got to be snapping at this point if you're Honifer in a game like this. If you want this one to count and don't want to have to win 6 games in a row if you're just winning some 1-cubers. That's going to make this a very, very long comeback. But we are going to see a snap here on turn 6. We'll see if Mezencio accepts it and if Honifer is able to put out some good results. I will say, this move bounce deck has so many different potential lines. Honifer, one of the best Marvel Snap players in the game, potentially making it look easy, but you can see they're even second guessing and coming up with some different potential plays for each of these turns. The bounce move deck has so many different moves that it can make, which is what makes it very powerful and very versatile. But it means that, I don't know, I can't personally play it super easily. We also see a Gorr come down from Mezencio as the big 6-drop of choice, replacing Red Hulk from this Clog deck, and it makes a lot of sense. Most of the cards in Mezencio's deck are on reveal, with some even creating more on reveal, like Hawkeye creates additional on-reveal cards potentially, and Honifer's playing a bunch of on-reveal cards too, so they are going to wind up boosting this score, and we are going to see an activation here from Araña. Oh, yeah, so Toxin picking up the Madam Web and the Hood. No, they're not going to go with that. Like I said, there's a lot of different potential plays you can make with this deck. So looks like they are going to Doctor Strange over the Human Torch to battle against the Gorr, and they're going to give up Wakanda, and then they are going to, I think this is the same play, actually. They're going to bounce some cards over with Toxin. Cannonball knocks over the Beast. Wait a minute. Okay, so this is actually huge now because the Doctor Strange now cannot drag over the Human Torch because of the order that all of this stuff happened in. Oh, wow. If Honifer played Human Torch and Doctor Strange last, then they could have still done this play, but now the Human Torch is stuck over in Wakanda where it's just not enough. The Vulture is still going to get pulled over to Limbo, and they lose in Wakanda just barely, and then they lose to the Gorr in Minilab, which they were planning on beating with that Human Torch. And I think there's a great example of how just a little bit of Clog can be absolutely devastating for a move deck. There we go, Mezencio, undefeated, does not lose a cube in the finals to take it and win the entire event. I want to look now at the deck lists played by the top 4 players in this event. We did not actually get to see all of Honifer's deck in the 2 games that we looked at. I don't think we saw the Grandmaster, the Shadow King, or the Dr. Octopus. I think we saw everything else, and I think for the most part, this is a pretty stock Clog list with, like I said, Gorr as the top end of choice. There's some flexibility there with either Gorr or Red Hulk. I think Gorr is pretty strong, and also Gorr does not telegraph that it's coming, which probably makes it a little bit stronger. Shadow King and Grandmaster are really powerful 2-cost cards to play alongside your Cannonball on the final turn, and if you can junk your opponent out with a combination of these cards, Acid Arrow from Hawkeye, plus the rest of these and Debrii, then winning one location with a Gorr or a Cannonball means that you've won the game, because you only have to win 2 locations in Marvel Snap. So that is exactly how this deck is trying to operate. In second place, potentially even second place on the global leaderboard at the time of this recording. I think they are number 3 still. I played against them earlier today and they were number 3, but we have Honifer here with, I think, again, a pretty stock move bounce list. A lot of players, I think, are on to this exact 12-card combination, and it's pretty powerful. There are some ways to play around it, as we saw. Clog can be pretty good. The Iron Patriot, I don't think that everyone plays the Iron Patriot, but it gets really easy to win the Iron Patriot's location when you're able to move around like a Dagger. Your opponent battles for the Iron Patriot location, then you go Dagger, Ghost Spider it into the Iron Patriot location, and if they've played 2 cards there, all of a sudden you've added 8 power there this turn. That's going to battle with even a Gladiator. So that can be a lot of points, and another cool combo, using Frigga to get a huge Human Torch, Dagger, or Vulture is obviously super sweet, but Frigga plus Iron Patriot is a combo that I've liked a ton. If you win the Iron Patriot battle, using Frigga to get a copy of, like, playing your, on turn 5, going Claw plus Frigga to get another 1-cost Claw could be a really, really powerful combination, and Frigga's also already just doing cool stuff with the other bounce stuff going on in the deck. So I think that this list is still looking pretty good despite the loss here from Honifer. Maybe we'll start to see a little bit more Clog on the top of the post-infinite leaderboard, but for now, I think that this is still a really solid deck, and the next decks that we're going to look at do have some interesting card choices. You know what? I'm going to save Joao's deck. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, by the way. I've never seen this name before, but JoaoSoriano. I'm going to save your deck for last because I think it's really sweet, and we're going to look first at fully playing a Wiccan list with a little bit of their own spice here. This is a Wiccsilver variant, playing Quicksilver on turn 1, and then 4 different 2-cost cards with 4 different 3-cost cards as well. Playing Agent Coulson is something that I have played before in Wiccan. I've seen Desmond win tournaments with it, I believe, in the past, where it's just really good both in allowing you to curve into Wiccan and then gives you an incredible outlet for how to spend that extra Wiccan energy, because this deck, for a Wiccan deck, has a really, really low curve, and that's always an interesting puzzle with Wiccan. How low do you want to make your curve so you can satisfy Wiccan, and how high do you want to make your curve so that you can actually use some of the payoff? And I think a pretty common use for Wiccan is these cards that generate cards, thus giving you something to spend your energy on early and late. And we're really going all in with that with the Victoria Hand. Rocketing Groot, not a card that you see super often. And then Alioth is really the only top end card here. With Cosmo being, honestly, I mean, the two decks that we've looked at right now, Cosmo's good against both of them, and the deck we're about to look at, Cosmo's also good against that deck. So Cosmo, I think a pretty good metagame choice here. Red Guardian really the only other tech card. I guess Rocketing Groot, I don't really think it's a tech card. Alioth is kind of a tech card, but it's kind of just a catch-all. It's good against everyone. All right, this is probably the coolest deck from the tournament. In third place here, JoaoSoriano's Destroy with Galactus. And here is why this is much cooler than I think it might even appear. Because I think when you play Destroy, and a lot of people rag on Destroy, they say it's always the same 12 cards. Nobody's innovating with it. And I get that. I mean, partially, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, I don't care that somebody's playing Destroy. You kind of like, I don't know. I think Destroy is fun and cool. It can do some really fun stuff. And this list is trying to do something else fun, something else after my own heart, playing the G-Man. And what I was kind of getting at here, what I think makes this even more exciting is the fact that Destroy is obviously just playing the same 10 to 12 cards, right? And the Galactus, especially in the Conquest format, can really surprise your opponent. So with Infinite Conquest opening up next week, I think this could be a really interesting list to try, where you catch your opponent off guard. Okay, you're not playing the Deadpool. Oh, I'm getting unlucky. I'm never drawing my Deadpool, but I'm obviously a Destroy deck, playing Wolverine, playing Venom. Shang-Chi is a card that Destroy decks can sometimes play. It's a little bit of a flex slot in there instead of maybe the Arnim Zola or the Hulkbuster. It's not crazy out of the norm. Nova is a little bit different. Nova is not something that you typically see in Destroy decks, but Gladiator also not. Gladiator not something that you're typically seeing in these Destroy lists, but then you surprise your opponent. Game 4, you've retreated for 1 cube 3 times, then you snap. They're like, oh, I've got a hand that's great against Destroy decks. They snap back. You wave on turn 3. They're like, what the heck? And then you drop a Galactus and just take them for 8 cubes or 7 cubes or whatever at that point. And I think that could be a really interesting strategy in the Conquest format. And I'm curious how many games in this tournament Joao is able to win just because his opponents were not expecting that to be the case. Also, I do want to say, Joao did lose in this tournament to our eventual winner playing Clog, but if Clog rises in popularity, then Destroy is pretty cool. Also, because you can just destroy all of the rocks and weird stuff that they try to send over to your side of the board. This deck is playing 1 less Destroy card. It's not playing the Deathlock. It's instead opting to play Gladiator, but that's fine. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is if you're playing against a bunch of move decks, Galactus, especially bounce move, Galactus is a really sweet getcha because your opponent is going to be bouncing all of their cards, so they're not going to have enough power on their board to battle up against a Galactus, especially if they're trying to toss priority. They bounce all their cards. If they keep their cards on the board, then you can Killmonger them. If they bounce them, then you can Galactus them. And once there's only 1 location in the game, then your opponent can't move their cards at all, which I think just makes this a really interesting and strong pick, potentially. It's kind of a sleeper pick that can catch your opponents off guard, which is always really exciting to see some people innovating. For today, that is going to be it for me. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace.